What if I told you that your money became worthless? On a Sunday night in August while you were watching television? No warning, no vote, no consent. One man, one decision, one broadcast. And the entire foundation of global wealth vanished. The dollar you trusted the savings you worked for, the future you planned, all became an illusion in the span of 15 minutes. And the worst part? He told you it was temporary. 54 years later. We're still living in the wreckage. This is the story of the greatest theft in human history. And it happened live on national television while America ate dinner and believed everything would be fine. Let me take you back to when money meant something real, 1944. World War II is ending. The Allied powers gather at a hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Their mission? Design the post-war economic order. They needed stability, trust, a system where nations could trade without fear that currencies would collapse overnight. So they created an elegant solution. Every currency in the world would be pegged to the US dollar, and every dollar would be backed by gold. $35 for 1 ounce of gold, fixed, guaranteed, written into international law. The deal was simple. America held most of the world's gold. Seized from Nazi Germany, inherited from collapsed empires, earned through industrial dominance, Fort Knox became the vault of the world. Other nations could hold dollars instead of gold, because dollars were as good as gold. Any country could walk into the U.S. Treasury, hand over $35, and receive 1 ounce of gold in return, no questions, no delays. A promise backed by the full faith and gold reserves of the United States. And for 27 years, worked. The dollar became the global reserve currency. International trade exploded. Economies rebuilt. The post-war boom created the wealthiest middle class in human history. Your grandparents lived through the golden age of American prosperity. Houses cost 3 times your annual salary. College tuition was affordable. A single income supported a family. Pensions were guaranteed. The American dream wasn't marketing, it was math, because money was real, backed by something tangible, something that couldn't be printed into existence. But here's where it gets dark. Because the United States decided to cheat. 1965. President Lyndon Johnson launches 2 massive programs simultaneously, the Vietnam War and the Great Society. Both required unlimited spending. War in Southeast Asia, social programs at home, infrastructure, Medicare, Medicaid, the space race. It was ambitious, noble even. But there was a problem. America didn't have enough gold to back the spending. So they did what governments always do when they want something they can't afford. They printed money anyway. The Treasury started creating dollars without gold backing them, billions. Then hundreds of billions of dollars flooding the global economy. Paper promises backed by nothing but faith. And for a while, nobody noticed. Or maybe they noticed but didn't want to admit what was happening. Because if the dollar collapsed, so did the entire global economy. But one man saw through the lie. Charles de Gaulle, president of France, and he was furious. De Gaulle understood economics better than most leaders. He looked at America's spending, looked at the number of dollars circulating globally, did the math, and realized there wasn't enough gold in Fort Knox to cover the dollars America had printed. The United States was running a Ponzi scheme, using the dollar's reserve currency status to live beyond its means, exporting inflation to the rest of the world while Americans enjoyed artificially cheap imports and endless credit. So in 1965, de Gaulle did something radical. He started exchanging France's dollars for gold, all of them. He sent French warships to New York Harbor to collect physical gold bars from the Federal Reserve. Other countries watched, and they started to panic. If France doesn't trust the dollar, should we? The exodus began. Britain, Germany, Japan, Switzerland, nation after nation lining up to exchange paper dollars for real gold. And with every shipment, Fort Knox emptied. By 1970-1 America's gold reserves had dropped from 20,000 tons to less than 9,000 tons. Half the gold gone, and the requests kept coming. The United States faced a choice. Honor the Bretton Woods Agreement and run out of gold completely, or break the promise. Admit the truth. Confess that the dollar was backed by nothing but military power and the willingness to print more paper. President Richard Nixon chose betrayal. August 15th, 1971, Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Nixon interrupts network television with an emergency announcement. He looks directly into the camera and delivers 15 minutes of carefully crafted lies wrapped in patriotic language. He calls it the new economic policy. He says he's protecting American workers from international speculators. He says it's temporary, just until the global economy stabilizes. Then he says the words that destroyed your financial future. I have directed Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Suspend temporarily. Those were his exact words. Temporarily. It's been 54 years. The suspension is still in effect. And it will never end, because once you break a promise like that, once you admit your currency is just paper backed by nothing, you can never go back. If your stomach is starting to turn, if you're realizing that everything you thought you knew about money was built on a lie Nixon told on a Sunday night, then you need to hear what happened next. Subscribe now, because the consequences of that 15-minute broadcast are still destroying your purchasing power today, and what's coming is worse than you can imagine. The immediate reaction was chaos. Stock markets surged because traders understood what this meant. Infinite money printing, inflation, hard assets becoming more valuable as currency became worthless. Gold prices exploded from $35 an ounce to over $800 within a decade. Not because gold became more valuable, but because dollars became worthless. The 1970s were a preview of our future. Inflation hit 13%. Unemployment soared. Interest rates reached 20%, gas lines, shortages, stagflation, an economic nightmare where prices rise while wages stagnate and jobs disappear. Your parents lived through it. They watched their savings evaporate, watched the middle-class dream die, and they were told it was necessary. Temporary pain for long-term stability, but it never got better. It just got different. Without gold backing the dollar, the government needed a new anchor, something to give the currency value, something to force the world to keep using dollars even though they were just paper. So they made a deal with Saudi Arabia, with OPEC, oil ... the resource that powers everything ... would only be sold in dollars. Need oil? You need dollars. Every nation on earth forced to hold American currency to fuel their economies. The petrodollar was born not backed by gold, but by black gold, and by the implicit threat that any nation trying to sell oil in other currencies would face American military intervention. Iraq tried. Saddam Hussein announced in 2000 that Iraq would sell oil in euros instead of dollars. 2 years later, American tanks rolled into Baghdad. Libya tried. Muammar Gaddafi proposed a gold-backed African currency to replace the dollar for oil sales. NATO bombed Libya into oblivion and Gaddafi was killed in the streets. Coincidence or enforcement? The dollar survives today not because of trust ... but because of force. Military bases in 170 countries. The largest military budget in human history. Aircraft carriers, drones, sanctions. The dollar is backed by violence, by the willingness to destroy any nation that threatens dollar hegemony. And what did that mean for you? For ordinary Americans trying to build a life, it meant the beginning of the end. Look at the numbers in 1970-1 ... Before Nixon's betrayal, the average American home cost $28,000. Today, $400,000. Did houses get 14 times better? Or did dollars get 14 times weaker? A new car costs $3,000. Today, $50,000. College tuition for a year, $1,000. Today, 30,000 at public universities. Your grandparents could buy a home on one income in 3 to 4 years of saving. You can't buy a home on two incomes saving for a decade, not because you're lazier, not because you don't work hard, but because Nixon destroyed the currency on a Sunday night in August and unleashed 54 years of inflation that transfers wealth from workers to asset holders, from you to them. Think about what you earn. Your salary seems reasonable until you realize what it actually buys. Your parents' salary bought them a house, a car, a family, security. Your salary rents an apartment, leases a car, maybe pays off student debt if you're lucky. The number looks bigger, but it's worth less. Much less, and it gets worse every year. This is the invisible theft, the silent robbery. Every dollar the government prints dilutes every dollar you hold. Your savings account loses value while you sleep. Your paycheck buys less every month. You re-running on a treadmill that speeds up while they tell you not running fast enough. And the worst part? Most people blame themselves, think they're not smart enough, not working hard enough, not saving enough, when the truth is, the game is rigged. It's been rigged since 1971. Would you work for a currency that loses 5% of its value every year? Would you save in money that's designed to become worthless? That's what you're doing right now. That's what Nixon's betrayal forced you to do, because there's no alternative. The dollar is the global reserve. You're paid in dollars. You're taxed in dollars. You're trapped in a currency that's being systematically destroyed, and there's nowhere to run. But here's what they don't want you to understand. This isn't sustainable. You can't print infinite money forever. You can't dilute currency endlessly without consequences. And the consequences are accelerating. The national debt is $34 trillion and climbing. The government now spends more on interest payments than on defense, more on servicing debt than on all of domestic discretionary spending. They're trapped in a death spiral. Print more money to pay old debts. Create new debt. Print more money. Repeat until the system collapses. And when it collapses, when the dollar finally loses its reserve currency status, when other nations stop accepting American paper for real goods, everything you think you own will vanish. Your bank account, your retirement fund, your life insurance policy, all denominated in dollars, all worthless. Just like Nixon promised it would never happen, the petrodollar is already dying. China and Russia trade in yuan and rubles. Saudi Arabia is accepting yuan for oil. The BRICS nations are building alternative payment systems. The world is slowly carefully stepping away from the dollar, not because they want to, but because they have to. Because America has weaponized the currency, used it for sanctions, frozen assets, stolen reserves. And now the world realizes holding dollars isn't safe. It's a liability. When the world stops using dollars, what happens to the trillions of dollars sitting in foreign central banks? They come home. They flood back to America. And when they do, inflation won't be 5%. It won't be 10%. It'll be Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Weimar Germany. Wheelbarrows of cash to buy bread. Life savings worth less than the paper they're printed on. You think it can't happen here? That's what every empire thought. That's what every failing currency believed. That their money was different, special, permanent, until it wasn't. Nixon's betrayal didn't just destroy the gold standard. It destroyed trust. It destroyed savings. It destroyed the possibility of planning for the future. Because in a world of infinite money printing, in a world where the currency loses value by design, there is no future. There's only the present. Spend now because tomorrow your money will be worth less. Don't save because inflation will eat it. Don't plan because the rules change whenever they need them to. This is the world Nixon created. A world where you're always running, but never arriving. A world where hard work doesn't build wealth because wealth is measured in currency that evaporates. A world where the people connected to the money printer get richer while everyone else gets poorer. And the cruelest part? He did it on a Sunday night, interrupted your television. Told you it was temporary. Told you it was for your own good. And you believed him. America believed him. The world believed him. And then 54 years later, we're still paying the price for that 15-minute lie. So what do? How do you protect yourself from a currency in terminal decline? How do you opt out of a system designed to rob you quietly? You can't. Not completely, but you can understand the game. You can hold assets they can't print. Real estate, commodities, stocks and companies that produce real things. Anything except dollars sitting in a bank losing value. But even that's not enough. Because the only real solution is ending the system Nixon created, returning to sound money. Currency backed by something real. Something they can't create from nothing. Something that forces governments to live within their means instead of stealing from future generations through inflation. The question is ... Will we demand it before the collapse? Or will we wait until wheelbarrows of cash become the norm and the middle class is completely extinct? If this just made everything about your financial struggle make sense. If you're ready to learn exactly how to protect yourself from the coming dollar, collapse, and which assets will survive when the system fails, then subscribe and activate notifications immediately. Next week ... We're exposing the petrodollar endgame. The moment Saudi Arabia abandons the dollar agreement. And what happens to your bank account within 48 hours? The final warning starts now. Nixon destroyed your money in one night. The consequences are accelerating. The collapse is coming. And this time ... There's no gold left to anchor the fall. Are you prepared for what comes after the dollar dies?